Hmm. The last video is helping because I'm talking about books, and I want to read some more books, but I mean, I'll get there. Lads, ladies, non-binary daisies. I don't know how many books are going to be in this video because the next three I actually didn't really enjoy all that much. Um, Again, please ignore the fact that I sound distressed because, who isn't these days? Anyway, so I've read Stephen King before. I have another Stephen King book that I plan to read. That bitch is 600 pages long. Please pray for me. But, like, I've wanted to read Gunslinger for a while. I knew that the movie The Dark Tower was garbage because instead of, like, I know that lots of YA, for some odd reason, there was a well, not odd reason, but because of Harry Potter, there was a phenomenon for a little bit where they would take the last book or movie and split it in half, even if it didn't need it. Like, Hunger Games is 3 books long. I'm sure if they had cut some stuff out of Mockingjay Part 1, they could have made one movie, but whatever. Um, the Dark Tower is a book series that needed multiple movies, but I guess for some reason they just weren't thinking about money, which is odd for Hollywood, but whatever. So, that being said, the first book in the Dark Tower series is called Gunslinger, and it came out in 1982. And I asked my mom because I didn't enjoy it. I asked my mom, and she said that the first book is a little bit slow, which I might revisit it later because one of my friends wants me to keep reading Percy Jackson, and all of them said that that first book is slow, which I don't like that as an excuse, but I don't know. The Gunslinger didn't read as horror. Like, I know that's Stephen King's thing, but it wasn't scary at all. Um, the person, the gunslinger, is like chasing some guy in black across a desert, but like he's relatively close, but in a desert, what does relatively close mean? And the man in black is trying to have him killed, and I I don't I wasn't sure what was happening. I didn't It was kind of hard. It's kind of hard to feel attachment to a character when they don't have a name. I say as I'm writing a character who I named Seven, but it's like different with him. Like, it just, I don't know what happened. I don't know why the gunslinger wants him dead. I don't know who the man in black is. I don't know where they're going. I don't know. I might revisit that one again later, but yeah. I got bored, so I think one of the genres for this book said that it was supposed to be realistic fiction, but like there's a small level of magic going on in this book, but whatever. I was just kind of bored. Like, there's a difference between like the tone of a book being grim and the book just being dismal. This book just feels dismal. I'm trying to think of something, a book or a piece of media that's tone is grim, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. Nothing that I've read, certainly. Um, I mean, I think John's chapters in A Song of Ice and Fire, specifically that character's chapters, those are kind of grim. Not when he's with Egret, but like, well, no, because even then, there's still kind of the looming ice zombie problem. So John's chapters, not from the show doesn't count. John's chapters are kind of grim because of like the implications of the wall not being as protected as it used to be. So, yeah. After that, I picked up this book called The Last Temptations of Iago Wick, and that came out in 2017. And it seemed like it was supposed to be kind of in the same vein as Good Omens, but eh, like, um, I didn't get very far in that one either, because I don't know. Um, it was fine. I don't feel like going through the plot. Everything was just fine. Took a second to start. Too many characters, and there are too many chapters without the 2 title characters being mentioned, and I can't. And then after that, I read a book called The Dark Verse Volume 1 from the Passages of Revenants, and it's like a collection of short stories. There are 26 of them in there, and they're supposed to be horror, I think. But like the only one that I liked was the Unlike Light, and I can't even really explain why I liked it. It's just about a dude who gets kidnapped, and like there are monsters in the place where he is, and the monsters live in the light, they live in the darkness, and they can try to escape, but the monsters will tear them apart. And I think he ends up escaping. It wasn't very scary. It was supposed to be kind of Lovecraftian. It wasn't very scary to me. I'm not an easy person to scare. Jump scares don't get me. I actually hate them. And, eh. Um, yeah. Like, I can't explain why I like the Unlike Light, but I liked that book. The only, like, part of the reason I got that book is A, because it was free, B, it was short stories, so one of them had to be good, and C, because, like, the only thing that I know about Lovecraft is, the only thing that I know about Lovecraft is the name of his cat, Google it, and, I don't know, like, I wanted to read it, because I'm not a person who believes that, like, we should cancel every person in the world and in history who is even slightly problematic, because then, like, in terms of the history that I study, which is Black history, you start facing the opposite extreme of the problem that we have right now in terms of like the statues and all of that. Do remove the flags though. But anyway, like in terms of like Lovecraft, was he a raging racist? I mean, based on the name of his cat, yeah, but at the same time, he did a lot for horror and literature, and you know, I don't I don't know. Also, not to say that I'm a casual when it comes to horror. Like, I currently, for the last 2 years, have been trying to beat Bendy and the Ink Machine, and that game scares the living daylights out of me. Um, but like, gore and like jump scares aren't scary to me. Gore is just disgusting, and like Kayako and her son from The Grudge, fuck that movie. Anyway, oh look, a book that I can actually talk about. Valiant is the second book in the Modern Fairy Tale series by Holly Black. I didn't like this book very much, but anyway, so it's kind of important to the plot because the third one, um, there's a tree lady who's been poisoned, and she goes looking for a person named Ravis. Valerie is our resident human. She is one of those kids with a mom who didn't want her doing anything womanly until high school, but now her mom is like, why can't you want to date boys? And it's like, because you didn't let me do anything womanly until I got to high school. I'm not, like, let your kids experience things, and if they're doing something that is out of their age range, then you sit them down and talk to them about that. But, I mean, if your 12-year-old hits puberty and they start liking either the opposite sex, the same sex, or no sex, like, just, they're supposed to because they've hit puberty. So, but anyway, Valerie's mom is sleeping with her boyfriend, but forget about that shit because Valerie runs away. So, which I guess is the proper reaction if you find out that your mom is sleeping with your boyfriend. I don't really know what was happening in this book. Valerie ends up with some people. One of them is a satirist. I'm not sure what the female version of a satyr is, but she's a female. She's got the goat legs. She's a satirist. That's what I'm going to call her. And she ends up finding Ravis, and the characters from the first book are in this book for like a second. And Valerie like falls in love with Ravis. She also gets addicted to some drug called Nevermore. I'm not really sure what it's supposed to do, but Ravis is being blamed for the poison that's like killed the tree lady in the beginning of the book, and one of her friends tries to get her to come home. She doesn't want to go home, understandably, because her mom's sleeping with her boyfriend. If you've watched all like 70 of my videos on this channel, then you know where I stand on things like that. I don't need to repeat myself. Val ends up fighting someone for Ravis, and then she wins, and like Ravis is fine, I guess. Uh, Somehow the main character from the first book and the character in this book are going to meet each other. I guess I didn't read the description for Valiant very well because, like, at the end of the last book, I don't remember what his name is, but edgy goth Sealy boy was now king, and I guess we're just not going to talk about that, but whatever. Um, it's just it's a mess. The book is kind of unorganized, but like as with the Dragon's Champion, no, the Dragon's Blade. As with Dragon's Blade, I read the second one so that I can read the third one because the second one that was also an unmitigated mess, and we'll talk about that later. So yeah, Valiant. Um, when I feel like opening the document, I will tell you where all of these books go on the list because I realized that it's not open. But as I said before, I'm emotionally distressed, so subscribe.